With all these new cameras coming out with bigger and better specs, the real question is, should you invest in new equipment or should you hold out as long as you can? Let's get right to it.
100%. I'm an original. 100%. This is my bounce. 100%.
So as long as I've been doing film and being a videographer, whether freelance or professional, there's always been this question of, should you invest in new gear? Should you hold out as long as you can? That's a very complicated and loaded question, but I'll answer it like this. The very first camera and film equipment that I bought, I actually saw from another creator and I wanted to be just like that creator, and I bought literally everything that that creator had. Now, it wasn't anything crazy advanced, it wasn't top of the line anything, but it was a lot for what I at the moment had. Obviously I didn't have anything, so I just kind of went all out and bought a whole bunch of stuff. Vlogging was like huge at that time, so I just bought the camera, I bought a shotgun mic, I bought everything to vlog and travel, or everything that I thought was necessary. I literally wanted everything that that creator had so that I could make the same things that that guy was making. So I came to the hard realization that obviously for the first, I would say 6 months to a year, I really didn't even know how to use the gear. I messed up a lot. It took me a while to learn every specs of the camera. And the first camera I ever got was a Canon 70D. Obviously it's, crop sensor, a very, basic camera, and it was still a lot to learn. So I had all this equipment and I really didn't get to fully use it until almost a year in. And also the same with any type of gear that comes out. So I bought that camera with the certain tools that it had, and then another camera came out, and then another lens came out, and then a better lens came out. These companies are gonna keep coming out with bigger and better gear. They're gonna advertise it as this one has what this one doesn't, or the previous one didn't. And of course, they gotta compete with their markets. So they're gonna come out with as many best qualities in the camera and best specs that they possibly can. So again, this brings us back to the question, should you invest or should you hold out? Well, what happened with me was, as I kept buying this equipment, and you would think that that would stop me after I had all this equipment that I didn't use, but I just kind of kept on buying. Oh, there was new lights, I'll buy that. Oh, there's this new mic, I'll buy that. I wasn't buying the cheap versions. I wasn't buying the crazy $1,000 versions either, but I was spending a good amount of money on it. So I became what is called a gear hoarder. So I would hoard all this gear that I didn't even fully understand how to use it, and I went ahead and started working with that. And what turned out was I wouldn't even film that often. I wouldn't even use this stuff that often. It really hurt me in a way because it kind of stunted my growth. So instead of having one piece of equipment that I could really learn as much as I can about it, as basic as it could be, I had all these different options, and I was overwhelmed into what should I use or what I shouldn't use and how I should use it. So I started hoarding all this gear, and then I said to myself, wait a minute, how much money am I spending on gear itself? I moved on to a full frame camera. I didn't have a lens that could fit into the full frame camera. So what ended up happening was the only lens that I could use for that was a 50mm lens. Obviously, if you know 50mm lens, it's a very fantastic lens, and I know that now, but back then I didn't know how to use it too well, and that's the only lens that I could work with. And what I learned from that was that I could make the best situation with the equipment that I have on hand. I would almost argue that I made the best quality videos with that 50mm lens. So you have to learn to make the most out of what you have. That's number one. Now, I'll say that to say this. Yes, use the equipment that you have right at your disposal. It could be a cell phone, point and shoot camera, it doesn't matter. I've seen some great quality video, great films, just using the minimal amount of equipment. And to add to that, I would say definitely invest in gear when it is holding you back. And you only know that if you're using it to the full extent. If you feel like the camera that you have is only filming in 1080 and you have the capacity to handle 4K capabilities and know how to use it correctly, and you know that that will take you to the next step, then go ahead and invest in a 4K camera. If you know that you need a better microphone because the sound just isn't cutting it anymore, then go ahead and do that. If you feel like the lights that you're using, you've already kind of gotten over that look, you can't stand it, and you feel like you could flex around the new lights and you've looked it up and done your research, and you know that it will benefit you and help you out, then go ahead and do that. To see if the equipment is necessary, research it as much as you can, and know what the difference is gonna make with that certain piece of equipment, what that new mic is gonna do, what that external monitor is gonna do, what that stand is gonna do, what that tripod is gonna do, what that new computer or that new laptop with different specs is gonna do. Be absolutely sure how that piece of equipment is gonna benefit you and expand your business or expand the quality of your videos. Just because a new version of a camera or whatever piece of equipment is coming out doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be the best for you. Know the technical specs of your camera, know the technical specs of your lens, know the technical everything of everything that you own, so that way you could weigh out the pros and the cons, but do your research. So at the end of the day, my answer is yes, invest in new equipment only if it's gonna move you forward after you've done your research. And if you decide to do it, go ahead. And again, I say this, back in my situation, I really didn't have the resources to go ahead and do that. If I did, I would have splurged even more, but I don't. And if you have the money to splurge, hey, go ahead, trial and error. But if you don't, and you really wanna invest in the best that you can and grow your skills as a filmmaker or a videographer, make sure that the piece of equipment that you're looking to get is actually gonna benefit you, right? So you guys already know. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with me or if you disagree with me down in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys next time. Stay tuned. It's your boy O.Javier.TV. Until then.